The Bombastic Boys. I'm Mike Fisher, back home after a fascinating, disappointing adventure in Philadelphia, where if you look at my videos or you see us on Twitter or Facebook at Fish Sports, or listen to us on the radio, you're aware of the lengthy delay and the fun we had trying to survive it. Wasn't really fun, but you know, what are you gonna do? The Bombastic Boys are done. At least done being bombastic. They are 53 brands. They have met the enemy, and he is us. The Cowboys, for 3 months, spouting the cliche, we control our own destiny. They lose. Hey, that's all right. We control our own destiny. Are about out of chances. They're about out of games. And they're about out of even the stuff they store in barrels at the Star. Bombast. Quote from Tank Lawrence, "Don't fold." That was his answer when we asked him the advice that he's going to give, the guidance he's going to give his teammates as a team leader after the 17-9 collapse at Philly. Don't fold. Tank says, everybody's going to want to divide us. Don't fold. We're going to go out and play this last game, Redskins here, week 17 at AT&T Stadium, and we're going to win this MFR. And it's true. The Lost Boys have not been eliminated yet from playoff contention. Dallas, as we all know, can still capture the NFC East and a home playoff opener. And yes, they could, if they do that, they could in theory even be favored in a home playoff opener. Not that we should be paying any attention anymore to what any expert says about this team's chances, this team's talent, this team's stats, or even, and I'm very guilty of this team's psyche, vibe, and mood. Boy, I was fooled on this one. Completely convinced. After spending literally, and I'm not exaggerating when I say, all day Friday and all day Saturday, trying to capture what the Cowboys are feeling, and the vibe, and the mood, and the thinking. And Dak Prescott's shoulder was going to be the rallying point. It really was, till it wasn't. But it's true. They can go win next Sunday, get their help from the Eagles losing at the Giants, and go to the playoffs. But I'm betting that at AT&T Stadium next Sunday, there will not be champagne flowing in celebration in the post-game locker room should they win. I don't think that will be the mood. I don't think that will be the vibe. The 7-8 Cowboys, that's right, losers by record, not as humans, have gone 4-8 in their last 12 games. They've lost 5 of 7 on the road, I believe. And I often call this a 500 league. And people often think that I'm making an excuse for the Cowboys or any other team that ends up at 8-8. Well, you know, they're bad. No, it's a 500 league. They're right where they should be. Right about where 2/3 of every team is every year, within 2 games of 500. And so, yeah, the Cowboys are within 2 games of 500. Hooray! But they can't even right now qualify as a team that merits being part of a 500 league, because they ain't even 500. And yet, based in part on Tank's message, they still think the problem is the noise outside the building, the everyone who wants to divide us. Cowboy fans do not want to divide the Cowboys locker room. They want change, they want wins, and they're willing to do or watch the Joneses do whatever it takes and hope the Joneses do whatever it takes. But Cowboys fans are not anti-Cowboy. This isn't Philadelphia. Cowboys media is not anti-Cowboy. This isn't Philadelphia, Washington, New York, Boston. That's not how it works here. I'm kind of pleased that that's not how it works here. Kind of pleased that we have some level of civility. Once upon a time, a sly cartoonist, you older cats will maybe remember this. There was a sly cartoonist named Walt Kelly, and in the newspaper, he had a comic strip called Pogo, and it was a little possum. And he uttered a phrase, Pogo did, that was originally designed to poke fun, I think, at military pomposity. The quote, "We have met the enemy," Pogo said in a way that eventually skewered 1960s and 70s American society as a whole. "We have met the enemy, and he is us." There are pockets of honesty in the Dallas locker room. That's what I found on Sunday night when I was in Philadelphia. Even if the honesty drips of self-defeat. A mopey Amari Cooper, and that's the right word, questioned the play calling, which included him being rotated out on key snaps late in the game, inexplicably. And then he conceded, quote, "I didn't play my best game at all. It was all terrible." Quarterback Dak Prescott played valiantly but poorly. I believe that's a fair evaluation. Was unwilling to blame his scattershot passing day on his bum shoulder. Quote from Dak, "I've sat here before after every game, win or lose, and said, the good part is we still control our own destiny." And yes, he has. Every game. He and the Cowboys say that as a badge of honor. "Well, I know we just got our ass kicked, but we still control our own destiny." But Dak said last night, that's gone. It's out of our hands now. Unfortunate, disappointing. Don't control our own destiny anymore. And Zeke, maybe the most frank of all the Cowboys that I talked to in the Sunday night locker room before we got on the bus and sat there for hours, before we got on a plane and rode home in silence. Somebody asked Zeke if the better team had lost after the 17-9 at Philadelphia. And listen, it's a fair question. Zeke kind of bristled a little bit, but it's a fair question. And the reason it's fair is because the Cowboys have been saying that about themselves for 4 years. They lose a game and say, that's a shame, we shouldn't have lost it. We're the better team. For 4 years, this group has been saying this. Quote from Zeke, "How can you say we're a better team if we didn't beat them? If we didn't do it in crunch time? If we didn't get one win to solidify the division and we couldn't do it? How can you say we're a better team if we didn't win?" Oh yeah. The Cowboys and Cowboys Nation, America's team, so caught up in all that fact gets forgotten. The better team never loses. The winning team is always the better team. If I play you in checkers or chess or ping pong or horse or football, and I beat you, I'm better. Because the scoreboard is how we measure who's better, except in Dallas, where we measure it in billboards and salary and endorsements and eloquence. How can you say we're a better team if we didn't beat them? Bingo. Finally, mercifully, the truth. The Cowboys do not have superior players. The Cowboys are the number one offense in the NFL, but not in any way that shows up on the field. The Cowboys have high-profile defensive stars, but not in any way that shows up on the field. The Cowboys are not the better team because losing teams are not better than mediocre ones. Meanwhile, lame duck coach Jason Garrett and his steady hand, which when you win, you get to say, hey, he kept a steady hand on the wheel. We're never too up, never too down. When you win, you get to celebrate that. But when you lose, you do have to look into the message. Quote from Red Ball on Sunday night. The biggest thing is we have to do is try to process the game, learn from it, and move forward. Go and have a great practice on Wednesday and preparation for Sunday. Learn from the game and process it. That's the biggest thing. No, Jason, that's not the biggest thing that the Cowboys need to do. You're wrong. The biggest thing the Cowboys need to do is about a revamping of an organization that says all the right things but does too few of them. This is a franchise that is all about image and marketing and public relations and branding. And it's also bred a roster that I've nicknamed 53 brands. This roster is 53 brands. Doesn't make them bad people, doesn't make them bad players. They're not bad people, they're not bad players, but their focus is divided. The locker room's not divided, although there's conflict between coaches and certainly conflict between players and guys not speaking up when they should and other guys speaking up when they shouldn't. There's all that. That's what losing teams have. But their focus is divided. And is surely the case with many athletes of today, because, and we know this is okay, this is part of professional sports, sacrifice for teammates and cashing in, those two things have been around forever. But now more than ever, we've got image and positioning and branding, and we've got the Dallas Cowboys, who are 53 brands. Tank Lawrence, on Sunday night in Philadelphia, issued another potent statement when he said, quote, "Talent without a direction is nothing at all." And I listened to that, and I reviewed it, and I played it over in my head, and I watched the video. Is he taking a jab at coaches? Is he taking a poke at players? Is he just taking a harsh look at the link in the visitor's locker room, in the bathroom mirror at himself? Looking in the bathroom mirror at himself. This football team has finally met the enemy, and they've surely come to the realization that their tormentor is not the Eagles, or the Giants, or the Redskins, or the dastardly media, or the fair weather fans, or fate, or God. Every member of the Dallas Cowboys must now recognize that he has met the enemy, and he is us.